Right, you're back live with us here on In Focus. The South African Airways deal with Takatso Consortium, owning 51% shareholding in the national carrier, continues to raise concerns about the transparency of this particular deal. Now, the former Premier of Gauteng and the former COSATU General Secretary, Mbhazima Shilowa, has been questioning why there is secrecy around the SAA deal and the other bidders in this particular deal. He adds that the public deserves to know that this is not a handover of state assets to the politically connected in this era of state capture. Mr. Shilowa joins me now for more on this. Mr. Shilowa, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us tonight here on In Focus.
Good evening, Thabo, and good evening to the viewers.
Looking at the deal architecture, I mean, does it tick all the boxes for you? Is this a deal, and is it a good deal?
I don't know whether it's a good deal or not because we don't have any details from the minister. I would have expected that in terms of the PPP processes and the National Treasury rules that I know, that we had to follow at the time when we're doing projects such as the How Train, that he would have indicated on that day that this is the process that we followed. Firstly, there was a request for proposals. The following consortium, made presentations or bids. We accepted the bids. These were then approved. And then the next thing we did was to look at, in all of those people, which ones do we think better fit what we're looking at? And based on that, then say, these are our 1, 2, 3 preferred bidders, but we have now chosen this one as our preferred bidder, and this other one as our reserve bidder, and these are the reasons why we chose them.
Yeah.
Secondly, they would have said that due diligence has been done, and it therefore means that this is how much for us SAA is, and 51% means so much. This is the contribution they are going to make going forward, in addition to anything else they will do to ensure that we can run an efficient airline. Yeah. Instead, what we have seen is simply an announcement of a preferred bidder and then being told that they're still going to do due diligence. So I'm not saying that there is, anything wrong with the deal, but all I'm saying is that we're not in a position to say whether it's correct or not, because we don't know what the process was followed.
Yeah.
We don't know who the other bidders were, what amount they had followed, and why we're only doing due diligence now, when in fact there was a business rescue process, right, which would have already have given us what all of those numbers are, that we are now told that the new consortia, that is our preferred bidder, is now sitting at.
So looking at the timing of the announcement, right? It happened just after the ESCOM announcement, and understanding, I know you've been out of the system for a while now, you might not know exactly how things work today, but understanding when government acts so hastily to announce a preferred bidder before announcing all the processes that have gone on, do you have some kind of insight that we don't have in the public as to why would that happen? Why would there be a rush for them to make this announcement when they know that due diligence, for example, has not been done? They're saying, well, it will only be done later.
We don't know if there's been a rush or not. We can only assume that there's a rush. And the only reason why we assume that is because we're being told that the due diligence is going to be done now, when in terms of the process that I'm saying, I know that it should have been done already. We would also have been told that, look, maybe now we're dealing with asking them to look at what else is there so that they can give us their best and final offer. So I'm not sure if it's just a rush or is that the process itself was not followed. But I'm going to assume that the process itself was not followed, because if it was followed, National Treasury would have insisted on due diligence being done before. But I think the question we should be asking is, can the minister, can the department, can national government tell us what process was followed, who were the preferred, who were the bidders, why we arrived at the current bidder, and why this process is being followed? Without all of that, it makes many people to speculate. And if you take into account that PG has been very vocal about state capture, about being transparent, one wonders why he doesn't live to the expectations that one has of him, having made some of those allegations about what happened in state-owned enterprises before he took over.
Now, you're saying, if I'm hearing you properly, it's either one or two things. One, government didn't do its homework, which is a problem in itself, or government did do some kind of homework, but they are hiding certain information from us as to how did they reach that conclusion. Now, you speak of speculation. One of the speculations is around the funding structure of Takatso Consortium and the fact that you've got Harith there, which is 30% owned by the PIC. How do you read that, and does it cause any form of conflict for you?
Not so much with regard to what happens with the PIC, because, I mean, I know some of the people that are involved. I hold them in high esteem, Jabumleke being one of those. For me, it's simply that as long as there's no transparency, it makes people to be suspicious. Whether is SAA being just given away, or is this another process which only involves the politically connected? And I think it calls on the minister to say, no, don't worry about the due process. We will tell you as the public, as a country, what processes we followed, and here are the facts. And once the facts have been made available, South Africans will be in a better position to judge whether this process was fair or not. You don't want later this process to just unravel on its own, and or the process to proceed, and then 2-3 years later, the whole SAA collapses to a point where it's beyond any redemption, when we had been told that, look, this is to save the airline, and to save the airline, we're bringing in an equity partner, but we don't know what the equity partner is itself bringing, because we're now being told, look, they're still doing the due diligence. I don't worry about the due diligence, even though I think it should have been done before. I need to know who were the other people, what offers did they make, why did they not make it? These ones made it because what is it that they're bringing on the table?
Now, of course, this transitioning of SOEs into private equity partners is something that we are, I suppose, new at. I don't know if we are or we have done it before and how well we've done it before. But as we are coming in now, questions, for example, are being asked around the 49%, a huge part still of the equity that government is keeping. Others, the flip side of the coin, are saying, well, government gave too much. Why give the private hands 51%? Does it matter?
For me, it doesn't matter whether they had given the 51% or 60%, as long as we know in the process what is it that the 51% represent in monetary terms. Yes, we're taking over the debt that exists, This is how much they're going to invest going forward, and what are the safeguards that will ensure that this thing does not unravel, and then we find ourselves where we are. So if we take out the politics, we take out the ideology, we need to be able to say, having decided that we're giving this particular percentage, let's be clear to everyone in terms of that the process was fair. This is the amount. I mean, to date, I don't know if they're just being given this thing and then saying, you see how to move forward, or whether they being told, look, 51% equity is so much, and they then going to look at how they're going to put in that particular amount. Because if they're not going to put anything else, and it's just really a question of moving forward with having taken the debts and then saying you run this issue, one would then be surprised to find out why didn't we go ahead with other processes that we're told were paid for, which was whether it's Kenyan Airways, Ethiopian, Emirates, and so.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. That's the former Gauteng Premier and former COSATU General Secretary Mbhazima Shilowa weighing in on that South African Airways deal. We'll continue in a moment. Update you on what's making news right here on In Focus, Newsroom Africa, Channel 405. Stay with us.